the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to INCRadio on another lovely weekend. I'm Taylor Joy Lagpakan from the local congregation of Temecula Valley.
And I'm Lorraine Lubong from the local congregation of El Cajon.
And you are tuned in to INCRadio San Diego. Thank you for joining us on a beautiful Saturday morning here in San Diego. We have a very informative and educational topic for our show today that we think everyone can benefit from. It applies to everyone. What can you say about our show today, Lorraine?
I think they just have to. I can't do this. You've got to watch it.
You've got
to watch
it. It'll make more sense later. Yeah. I promise. We're gonna be talking about gut health. Mm-hmm. So be sure to stay tuned in our show so that you can get all of the important information that we'll share from our very special in-studio guest. But before we jump into that, as always, be sure to share this link to view our show today with your friends and family so they can also benefit from our show. And while you're at it, be sure to subscribe to the INCRadio YouTube channel if you haven't already done so, and like this show on YouTube. But how else can people be involved in our show today, Lorraine?
Of course, leave your comments. Join us for the hashtag challenge using your hashtags of your respective congregations right here. And stay tuned towards the end of the show to view the last weekend's broadcast winners.
All right. Without further ado, let's jump into our gut health topic for today. As mentioned earlier, we have a special in-studio guest who is a health professional and very knowledgeable on this topic of gut health. Mm-hmm. So please join me in welcoming Sister Mia. There she is. Hello, Sister Mia. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Very excited to be on today's show.
And we're very excited to have you on our show today. Before we jump in to all of the gut health questions, would you mind introducing yourself to everyone tuning in case they haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, and maybe a little bit about your professional background?
Yes, absolutely. I'm Sister Mia Camaquin. I am an organist in the local congregation of Temecula. I'm also married to another organist. He's very handsome. His name is Brother Ariel Camaquin. And we have a beautiful daughter, Avery Eloise. But I currently I'm a board-certified family nurse practitioner, and I currently work at the University of California in San Diego.
Wow, that's quite. You just from that you've shared, I can already tell you're a very credible source when it comes to our topic today. So, before we jump into our first question for you, Sister Mia, maybe let's give the live chat a little something to think about.
Yes, definitely. So for everyone tuning in with us today, what do you think gut health is? I don't have a lot of knowledge about gut health, so I'm very interested in the topic that we're having today. And I know Sister Mia has so much knowledge to share with us today. But how about you, Taylor?
Gut health to me, I don't know why I just immediately think of like prebiotics, probiotics, eating healthy, because I know that stuff affects your gut. Sometimes when I was younger, people would talk about like not eating at a certain time, like giving your gut some time to rest. So like intermittent fasting is sort of what I think of with gut health. I'm sure it's a lot more complex and detailed than that. So jumping into our first question for you, Sister Mia, can you explain what gut health actually means and why it's so important to our overall well-being?
Absolutely. So in order to understand gut health, we have to also understand what it's responsible for. So our digestive tract, it's really responsible for ingestion or eating food, digesting food. It also helps to absorb all the nutrients and transport it into the blood, and then excrete it or create waste products. So this includes our mouth, our esophagus, our swallowing tube, our stomach, which liquefies the food, and then our small intestine, which transports the food into the blood, and then our large intestine, which creates the waste. We also have other organs like the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas, but we'll be focusing more on the organs that involve the microbiome. And the microbiome, I think, is such a hot topic these days. What's interesting about the digestive tract is that it's one of the organ systems that's not sterile, meaning they're there's actually a lot of bacteria in there. This actually houses over 100 trillion bacteria. So if we were to keep that as an analogy, I mean, that would be more than all of the stars in the Milky Galaxy, if that's wild. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's such a unique system. It's a distinct ecosystem. It's a mixture of various bacteria. There's parasites. There's fungus in there, and So it might sound very strange, but this is all part of the microbiome, and they live in us. I mean, we're living in harmony.
And for those who may not fully understand what microbiome is, can you explain what we mean when we say microbiome?
Yeah, so the microbiome, remember, it's primarily in the digestive tract or in the stomach. So that's where when we're eating foods, it's not completely sterile, right? There's still some bacteria and things that are going there. But sometimes and that's what the gut is. We have a mixture of both good and bad bacteria.
That's what I hear people say.
Yes. And so the balance is there, and we need that good bacteria to help with digestion. We can't rely on ourselves alone. And so that's why it's so important that we maintain a healthy diet. And we'll talk a little bit about that in our discussion, because this helps us to make sure that we absorb the right nutrients. And we also are asymptomatic. So we'll talk about some of the symptoms that make us feel queasy or whatnot throughout this discussion.
Gotcha. Okay. That's good to know. Let's see. Let's maybe read some of the comments that people have left in the live chat. From Brother Ronnie Lee Anesiete, I got to feeling that this is going to be a great show. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Thank you, INCRadio San Diego. Greetings from the Dominican Republic in the District of Caribbean. Thank you for tuning in.
And we have a comment from Sister Gray Pascowick. Probiotics for the win.
For the win.
I love that. I love the famous drink that the tiny.
See, are those prebiotics or probiotics? I think it's prebiotics.
Are they
We'll
prebiotics?
talk about it.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
Good, because I drink so many of those, and I should probably know. From Alyssa Mojica. Hello from Hello from Washington, D.C.
From Andrew
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica. I was saying it in a. Okay, anyways, good morning, San Diegans from Seattle.
Thank you for tuning in. All right, let's give the live chat another question to think about before we ask Sister Mia our next question.
So we were kind of talking about the drinks, right? Do you know any good gut health foods, Sister? Or for our live chat, yes.
Yes, let's see if any of them have some recommendations first. And while they think about that, Sister Mia, what are some signs that someone might have an unhealthy gut? And when should I see a doctor about that?
Very good questions. So I want to just do a preliminary warning for our listeners and viewers, but we are going to be entering a sensitive topic, and that topic is our stools. So our waste, it gives us an idea of what our body is lacking. And if you aren't looking in the toilet, we do recommend that and from a medical standpoint, we do recommend that you look, because there are certain things that we want you to focus on in case these would be considered alarm features or warning signs. So this is a medical chart that we use in medicine. It's called the Bristol stool chart. It's actually an objective chart to give us an idea of the types of stools. So what our goal is that you should be reaching or targeting type 3 or type 4. So very formed, easy, soft to pass. Type 1 or type 2 are small, lumpy stools. This is considered constipation. That means you're struggling. You're primarily lacking in certain types of soluble fiber. So soluble fibers are like kiwis, cherries, things that kind of help to keep the stool soft. Grains are examples. And then if you look further on the Bristol stools chart, type 5, 6, and 7 are often described as diarrhea or loose stools, and that we may not be eating enough of the insoluble fibers or the bulking fibers. It may also be an example, or you might be having some type of viral illness if you're having more diarrhea. So take a look, see how you're doing. It also gives us an idea of a hydration status, meaning if you're too constipated, you may not be consuming enough water.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to know that this is a thing. I didn't realize that you have
It
a
is
chart.
a thing. It is a thing. And and this is why it's important to take a look, because there are warning signs. So one of the things, a few things that I want to take the time to for all of our listeners and viewers to understand is there are things that should not be happening. And if any of these occur, you should see your medical provider, whether it's a physician, a nurse practitioner, or a physician assistant. For instance, any discoloration of the stool that is black or red, any variation of red, it's not normal. So if you see this mixed with the stool in the toilet, obviously go seek personal guidance from a medical provider. If you are losing weight or unintended weight loss, this means you're eating fine, nothing changes in your diet, you're not significant change in your workout schedule, but you're losing weight without any reason. This is considered a warning sign. If you have constant or persistent diarrhea, changes in your bowel habits, or if your stools start looking really narrow, like pencil thin or like a ribbon, again, not normal. Go see your primary care provider. If you have night sweats, fevers, persistent abdominal pain or rectal pain. And the next part I want to talk about is preventative colon cancer screening, or CRC screening. This is primarily for individuals in the United States, because this is part of our guidelines. So if you're in Europe or in different parts of Asia, there's a different guideline. But anyone here in the United States over the age of 45, we encourage you to get your colon cancer screening. There's no cure for colon cancer, but we definitely can prevent it. Just like how women have mammograms to check for breast cancer, you are welcome, or we encourage you to get either a colonoscopy or a type of stool testing to check for signs of colon cancer.
Wow.
Gotcha. Very important.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, let's maybe give an opportunity for those in the live chat to share their thoughts. Let's read some of the comments from Sister Precious Capistrano. She says, kimchi is good and Matt loves sauerkraut. What are your thoughts on those, Sister Mia? Good foods?
Good foods, highly fermented. We want to keep our gut very full of variety. And we'll talk more about these types of foods. It's really increasing a variety of fruits, vegetables, both fermented and whatnot, because it really helps to feed the good bacteria.
Good bacteria.
Love also it. From Sister Gray Pasquith, kimchi is known to be great for gut health. I love kimchi in my Korean barbecue.
I try to eat kimchi whenever I can.
Yes, kimchi with anything.
From Sister Anna Quintos, I'm excited for this discussion. Happy viewing from District of OCC. I've heard that kimchi is really good for your gut health. Is our tech team just filtering all of the kimchi comments?
I love kimchi.
What's another one here? Oh, from Brother Erwin Prado. Sourdough bread is a gut healthy food. I didn't know about that. How? Because I don't understand why. Can someone explain, please? Thoughts on that, Sister Mia?
Maybe on another discussion.
Okay.
But it's good.
Gotcha.
Sourdough undergoes like this fermenting process.
Okay.
And so I suspect that's probably why it's better. But
you know what? I will continue to eat a lot of it. Because
when you make your own breads as well, anything where you're making your own meals is always better, because we want to try to eliminate processed foods, things that you just buy in the store that's already pre-made. But typically with like fresh bakeries and whatnot, they make their bread right then and there, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a good tip. I'll remember that.
Do we have other questions for our live chat?
Yeah, go ahead.
What foods do you think cause you to become sleepy after eating, also known as food coma?
For me, it's like anything that I eat a lot of.
For like fried foods, I think.
Food,
yeah.
really carb heavy.
Yes,
is what comes
definitely.
to mind. Let's see if the live chat has any thoughts on that. Do you have any thoughts on that, Sister Mia?
Yeah. So, our digestive tract, remember, it's nourishing our entire body, our brain, our heart, our lungs, our kidneys. And there are certain foods, remember, our gut is responsible for keeping all of that bacteria inside the gut, and everything that gets transferred to the blood is all non-sterile. It's sterile. There's no bacteria in there. We actually have about 70% of our immune system in our gut to protect our body from all of these things. So when we eat certain foods, if we have too much sugary drinks or a lot of the carbs, which are simple sugars, sometimes it makes us sleepy and tired because our body is trying to digest it. And remember, food should be giving us energy. They should be energizing us. And that's another sign that perhaps we're not eating the right things.
Guilty.
Yikes. Yeah, literally.
Guilty.
Makes me examine all of the foods I've eaten in the past 24 hours. But that is super important. And on this topic of diet and how it affects our overall health and gut health, Sister Mia, what foods are good for gut health and what foods you already talked a bit about what's bad, but let's try to focus on what we should be focusing on, like what foods are good.
Absolutely. And this is kind of important because a lot of people are like, well, what should I eat? And, I think the biggest takeaway is like, eating more. So I'll just tell you by evidence, evidence-based practice. We're seeing that when we're moving into more of a plant-based diet, when we're eating a lot of the good fats. So this contains foods that have like omega-3 monounsaturated fats. So examples are like flaxseed, avocados, olive oil, walnuts, or any types of nuts. This helps to promote the good bacteria. And we want our good bacteria to really be, strong and healthy because it really keeps us digesting well. It also helps us to nourish our organs just like we should. The foods that we want to avoid, and this is where it's interesting. Typically, when we have too much of these types of foods, then we may start developing GI distress. So examples of this are like bloating, gassiness, diarrhea, nausea, indigestion. These types of foods are harder to break down. And so these are examples like saturated fat. So this is your red meats like beef, pork, ham, deli meats, hot dogs, highly processed meats. They're just harder to digest. And of course, this includes drinks, drinks that have a lot of artificial sweeteners are very high in sugar. So these are like your energy drinks, spicy foods, greasy foods. They can cause more bloating and gas and diarrhea. And so that's where it becomes challenging. I also personally indulge in, maybe a nice boba drink here and there, but it's in moderation. That's the key, right? In moderation. You should be really primarily trying to nourish our bodies, but it's okay to, here and there, but I leave it up to you. See how your body feels, because your body or your stools will tell you what it's lacking or what it needs.
Got it.
And right now, my body's lacking water.
I can feel it too.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you mentioned like meats, because in general, I feel like a lot of people, like those who are pushing healthy living online, are really promoting like eat lots of protein, eat lots of meat.
Yes.
But you're saying that's depending on the type of meat. Like what about grass-fed meat?
So we won't go into that much detail, but I can tell you that we need protein.
Yeah.
So where else can we get protein? Well, we can get protein from lean meats like fish and chicken. Probably not the pork because it just has more fat in there, more of that saturated, and it affects our heart, our cardiovascular system, our lungs. And so we want to nourish our body. Another example I tell some of my patients is like, we take a lot of good care with our cars. Sometimes we take it on maintenance. We are like, is the oil okay? Are the tires rotated? We choose the right gas because we're like, oh, we want the engine to run smoothly. The same thing with our bodies. Our bodies are such amazing machines, but we have to nourish it. We have to put the right foods in it to make sure everything is properly functioning for a long time, right? We want to do that. We want to extend our life. We want to take care of it. We are trying to avoid disease, and our body's really good at doing that when we're younger. But as we get older, including myself, we kind of feel when we eat something, we're like, oh, my joints ache. I'm not feeling good. My sugar feels really high. And that's our body telling us. So we want you to, and there are other things that have protein in it, like beans, legumes. Mung beans is a very common thing in Filipino traditional foods. So we want to get a variety of fruits and vegetables. We want the leafy greens. We want you to have more broccoli or, all these vegetables. The more colorful, then the better it is for our gut.
I love that. And I have to read this because our tech team is forcing me to. They're saying, so you're saying meat can be sophisticated.
That's what I've been saying.
Beans saying.
Beans saying.
Beans are good for you too.
Absolutely.
I love it. Let's take this opportunity to read a few more comments before we move on to the rest of our discussion. A lot of people are saying carb-heavy foods that make them sleepy.
And from someone special, I believe your husband and your daughter saying, hi, mommy.
From
Avery.
Avery,
I
hashtag
love
TMB.
Oh, so cute.
From Sister Gray Peskiewicz, what teas or drinks can help with bloating? Green tea? Thanksgiving meals make me sleepy. Absolutely. Thoughts on that, Sister Mia? Are there any drinks or teas, in your opinion, that help with bloating?
Yeah, this is kind of a further discussion, but bloat and gas can often come from certain foods that we're eating. So
Mhm.
there's certain foods that when we eat tend to cause more bloating. So that would be my question first: is what are you eating that's causing more bloating? Beans naturally cause a lot of bloat and gas,
Mhm.
but there are some other natural remedies. I'll tell Sister Gray
When you see
about
each
some
other.
things. Yeah. But there are some other teas. Peppermint tea has shown to kind of help with digestion, but it can worsen reflux if you have that. But that's also a good option with digestion.
Okay, good to know. I'm gonna try that.
From Sister Grace Martin, a healthy gut also improves other parts of our body, like our skin and other organs in our body. Skin,
Absolutely. I'm
Skin.
telling
That's
you.
true.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
the digestive tract has to nourish every organ. And so if something is failing, when you see your doctor, what are they going to say? Your blood pressure is too high. You need to eat more of these foods. Your sugar's too high. What do you need to do? You need to eat these foods, because it all boils down to where are we getting that nourishment?
Exactly.
Got it. Very good. I like this. We do have just a couple more questions for you, Sister Mia. Excuse me, I just spat a little bit. Can gut health affect mental health?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. The strongest connection, I tell my patients, the strongest connection to our brain is our muscles and nervous system, the way we walk and talk and make decisions. Second strongest connection to our brain is our digestive tract. It is a very intense and intricate system. And sometimes there are certain things that we eat that can make us sleepy and feel drowsy, but it also affects meaning stress can impact our gut. We do see that people who don't have are overwhelmed or stressed. Maybe it also affects their bowel movements. They get a little constipated, more indigestion, or maybe they get more diarrhea. And this is, we see this in medicine oftentimes. And the other thing that's important to understand is with our brain and gut health and microbiome. So we also encourage you to exercise, because it helps promote and de-stress it has a lot of good promotional over health benefits, but it also helps to kind of de-stress. But yes, the brain and gut is definitely connected. Sometimes when you're like nervous, you're like, ooh, I get these butterflies in my stomach. That's an example. Our brain and gut is connected.
That's so true.
Our butterfly is a good thing, though, for the next discussion.
Next discussion, yes.
And
Yes.
we kind of talked about the probiotics and prebiotics. I saw a few comments.
Yeah.
Do you mind discussing what the difference is between the two?
Absolutely. So just to kind of simplify things, prebiotics are things that promote or feed or nourish the good bacteria. For example, lactobacillus or bifidobacterium are species that specifically nourish those types of bacteria. Probiotics help to you have hundreds and thousands of bacteria, good bacteria, that's supposed to help promote gut to help, promote the population of those types of bacteria in the digestive tract. But I can tell you, based on evidence, on studies, we actually don't recommend taking any pre or probiotics. Not supplemental. This is actually not FDA approved, meaning it's not regulated by the government. And what we primarily use or encourage people to take probiotics for is when they're taking antibiotics. Because when you take antibiotics, you kind of get rid of all the good and bad bacteria, kills them all off. And you also kill off the good bacteria. And so we say take some lactobacillus or bifidobacterium, as this helps to maintain your good bacteria in your gut, or it helps to also prevent a bacterial infection called C. diff. But other than that, they're very pricey. They're very expensive, and sometimes they're not. They can be very dangerous, especially if you are immunosuppressed. Meaning, if you're taking some medications that decreases your immune system, we try to avoid it. There has actually been a new study that has shown that if you take lactobacillus, it's linked to obesity. And so what we do see, so how can I increase my microbiome? How can I increase healthy bacteria? There's a study that was done recently, and it would show that if you consume more than 30 types of plants, vegetables, fruits in a week, you are increasing the diversity in your gut versus those who only consume about 10 in a week. So an example is like if you're throwing seeds in a garden, you don't know if they're going to grow. And that's kind of what probiotics do, right? You're going there, you're hoping they're going to go and take in and grow and cultivate, versus if you actually are a gardener, you want to fertilize, you want to nourish the soil, you want to water it. And that's what we're doing when we're consuming those types of fruits and vegetables, is it really allows to cultivate the microbiome, because our microbiome, especially when we nourish the healthy bacteria, helps to protect our immune system. There's actually, our gut health helps to promote and keep you away from illnesses. It also helps to nourish our body and helps with overall health. So again, look at the colors, look at your food, try to see the variety.
Look at the variety. I like that. And just to wrap up here, Sister Mia, thank you so much for all of the valuable information you've shared. Do you have any final parting remarks for everyone and some shout outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, I hope this was beneficial. And if you have any of those warning symptoms, definitely go see your primary care provider. And of course, always happy to be a guest here at INCRadio. Shout out
having you.
shout out to my family and all the brethren and local of Temecula.
Aw, thank you, Sister Mia. Let's give her one more round of applause. Thank you so much. All right, that was a good discussion.
I learned so much about my food.
Yes. Oh, Lorraine,
Do you see that? What's over there?
there's something coming up on
the horizon.
We're still working on this intro, everyone. Yes, we are on the horizon here in San Diego County, California, with all of our events going on. Like this past weekend, we had our Binhi recognition activity for those in the Binhi organization. That was on January 19th.
And then for upcoming tomorrow, or this weekend, January 26th, we have our Kadiwa formal. And
I'll see you there.
yes, I'll see you there.
Yes. And winners! Lorraine!
Taylor, we have winners. Winners for what?
The
hashtag.
Can you tell we're running out of time
Yes.
and we're nervous? So as a reminder, here are your hashtags per local congregation. And in no particular order, here are the top 3 winners from last week's hashtag challenge. We have the local congregation of Menifee. Yahoo! Menifee. Also the local congregation of North San Diego. And the local congregation of Vista. Congratulations to our top 3. We hope to see your local congregation in the top 3 next week. But that is all the time we have for our show today. Before we go, thank you once again, everyone, for joining us. And we hope you enjoyed our show. We would like to greet and thank the following individuals who help make INCRadio San Diego possible. Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, our executive minister. Brother Angelo Aranio Manalo, our SEPC president. Brother Wally Taray, our INCRadio station manager.
Brother Matthew Capistrano, our supervising minister of SDC. Brother Ermin Bendicio, our assistant supervising minister of SDC. And Brother Christian Ko, our district multimedia advisor. And up next, INCRadio Sacramento.
Until next time here on INCRadio San Diego, goodbye, everyone. Stay safe, and we will catch you on the next Wave. Bye.
Yay.
Leave it out. Yes, that's how it's doing. The wave, look at the freestyle wave. Hello from Temecula. Hi, everyone at the INC Giving. Nice seeing you. Shout out TMZ.
This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.